So I want to make something that's not crochet related. So out of cardboard I'm making like a mini theatre, because I keep seeing those videos, it's like the sinking thing, I can't quite remember what it's called, and I just want to make one. This is like a bonus sort of thing. It's not like I don't know, it's craft adjacent. I'm going to make it out of cardboard. In the picture you can tell that the way that I have done it, that there's going to be minimal detail but still like quite a bit of detail. I'm only actually going to be doing the theatre bit, not like the added extra that I've like added on, so like the seats and the 2 cardboard boxes next to it, but I'm hoping it will achieve what I want it to achieve. On a piece of paper I measured a 15 by 20 centimeter rectangle. This is the template for the beginning of the stage floor. On the stage floor I wanted to add a curve that protrudes out so that it's just not a rectangle. To do this I added 3 centimeters on the 15 centimeter edge. Then I used the board that I'm using to draw on as a guide for the curve. I only did the curve on one side so that when I folded the piece of paper in half and cut it out, the curve would be even on both sides and not like wonky or not in the center. Once I had cut out the template, I was then ready to cut the cardboard pieces out. A template is actually quite useful when you want to keep your pieces even, or when you need multiple they stay relatively the same, or when you don't have a lot of cardboard and you can't keep making mistakes and cutting pieces out. Now I grab a piece of cardboard that is slightly bigger than the template. I line it up and grab a pencil. I then trace around the edge of the paper onto the cardboard. I also used a ruler for this because I struggled to get the straight edge without going onto the paper. You could shade around the edge, that would mean you wouldn't have to use a ruler because it would already leave the outline on the cardboard. I then cut the cardboard into the shape that I've traced with the template. I never really realised this, but I cut cardboard so slow. Like, it is insanely slow. Once I finish cutting the cardboard piece, I take the scraps and put them off to the side. I take the first piece of cardboard that I cut and use that as my new template. I trace around the piece of cardboard and create the second piece of the floor. Then I proceed to cut the next piece out very, very, very slowly. Even though it's taken me a while to cut the cardboard, it will still be uneven and wonky. Like, it will be cut still wonky. How annoying is that? Now I have 2 pieces of cardboard that are similar in size. Now I'm making a template for the stability of the stage. I measure out a 15 centimeter by 3 centimeter strip. Even though the cardboard is already sturdy enough, I still wanted to add something so it wouldn't sag or break or rip or just anything. Once I had finished cutting out the template, I then proceeded to repeat the process that I did with the stage and trace around the paper onto the cardboard. I repeat this process until I have 5 strips of cardboard that can go evenly across the bottom of the stage. And as you can imagine, this probably took way too long because for some reason I'm slow at cutting cardboard. Now I have the 5 strips. I draw a line so the square is separate from the curve. I mark the midpoint so I know where the middle support goes. To do this, I use the template that I used for the stage. I draw the line and I also mark the midpoints of the two halves that have now been created. Now I know roughly where the supports go and where to hot glue them. I check the hot glue gun to see if it's ready. I then grab one of the supports and then I put hot glue along the long side of the piece of cardboard and stick it down on the middle line that I drew as a guideline. I then repeat that for the next 4 pieces. Once I've glued all the pieces down, on the outside too, I reinforce with some extra hot glue by going on the inside and doing a line across all the way to the end. Now I have the bottom half of the stage set and ready to go. And then as quickly as I possibly could, I tried to put the hot glue on the edges of the cardboard to place the top stage on, which I didn't do a very good job of because I had to go back and fill in with more hot glue. For the nature of the cause, I then sacrificed my finger to the glue gun. I proceed to fill the gaps that didn't quite get the hot glue because it had dried too quickly. And then using the same template that I used for the stage, I cut the piece of cardboard without the curve and placed it on the back for the back wall. I then got the hot glue and I put it on the back so I could stick the back wall to the stage. I then sacrificed my finger again to the glue gun. I then reinforced the back wall by running a line of hot glue on the back so it would stick and be flat. I then held it together so then it would stick in the place that I wanted it to. I then proceeded to do the 2 other walls. At this point, I'm not actually sure if I'm going to paint over the cardboard colour. I've not decided that yet. If I'm going true to the picture that I did, I would leave it cardboard, but you can see the hot glue and I'm not entirely sure if I like that. The only reason why I'm actually doing this is because I thought it would be cool to go on my shelf, but I also kept seeing that sinking town trend where everyone's like, every fandom has one. And you know what's unexpected? You'll see one and it will be an obscure thing that you had forgotten about and someone's actually done the trend to it. I haven't particularly structured mine in a way that I'd be able to do it, but I think it would be just cool to put something in it to display. So that's why I'm doing it. Also partially because I have free will and some cardboard and a dream, so I probably could make anything with some effort. Can I promise that it will be neat? No, absolutely not. And nothing that I make is ever neat. I have given up on the editing that I had at the beginning of the video, so it's just gonna be me talking over a time lapse. So what I'm doing here is making the template for the top part of the theatre where the name is going to sit and the little star mask things, because this is just the final details before I paint. Now I'm trying to figure out the stars and how big they should be, because there's 7 stars, 5 at the bottom, 2 at the top. Cutting out stars are just a bit annoying because you have to cut around the pointy bits and you can't cut too much, or they're just a bit annoying. So having to do 7, it was just trying to get a rough star shape, because if it looks pointy and looks like a star, no one's gonna pointing out that it's not starry enough. I don't know why I ever landed on choosing stars. I can't quite remember, because obviously the whole theme of it is the Star Theatre, and I legitimately couldn't tell you why I landed on that. Once I finished cutting all the stars out, and luckily I didn't chop a finger off, I then started to hot glue the stars onto the little theatre stage bottom bit, which I measured out roughly how much in between I wanted the stars. I then actually trimmed the little sign because it was too tall, and I glued it on. I actually saved up some toilet roll tubes so that I could do the pillars on the side, and I decided to cut them in half and roll them up using a pencil. But I ran into an unexpected problem at the fact that the toilet roll tubes are not long enough, so I then had to do a smaller piece, roll that as well, and then stick them on top of each other, and then cut another toilet roll tube and then wrap that around it, to then find out that if I had done it long ways, that it would have been long enough, so I wouldn't have had to have done that. The only thing that I didn't like about it was the fact that there was a lot of hot glue when I attached the pillars to the side that was visible, and I don't like that. Now what I'm doing is cutting the curtains out of cardboard. I did think about crocheting them, but I was like, I don't know, I just wanted to have like stationary curtains instead of trying to fiddle about making the crochet curtains look right. And then in pen I wrote out the name of the theatre. Then I started painting the stars yellow. I did most of the painting actually off camera because it would have taken long. So I painted all the stars yellow and the curtains red, and I made like a darker yellow as well to go around the edge of the stars and to do the face. With the curtains I actually wanted to add depth to them, so you know, when it's like darker, like essentially shadows, and I think I sort of did that, but I'm also not entirely sure if I did a great job. I definitely don't hate how it came out. I actually quite like it, but I don't like how much hot glue you can actually see. I wish you couldn't see it as much. So in future I think I need to find a different glue or be neater with the hot glue, not put as much, or only put hot glue where you can't see it, or like a lot of hot glue where you can't see it. But here's the finished cardboard theatre, and to show you it done I've decided to put a whole bunch of little animals or crochet things that I've already made. Some crochet things that might not have been uploaded yet when you've seen it.